Beauty comes from within. It's better to be beautiful on the inside than on the outside. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is internal. And it radiates no matter what you look like from the inside out.
Show reverence. Yes, I am.
Those black, dark people, you're cute or darker. I don't like dark skin. I don't want you to get too dark because then people may not want to play with you. The boys may not think you're too cute if you're too dark. If you're dark enough, you don't need to add any extra. It hurts sometimes. It sucks sometimes. Changed. Ooh. Wow.
Still been a fight. It's still been a fight. Because I knew that it was bigger than me.
Just the experience of growing up as an African American woman. Some things you know and some things you just feel. You know, the black girl, and it wasn't the black girl. It was the black girl. You know, that different connotation, so you kind of knew that it wasn't something very cool to be.
It has been an underlying issue. Since I've been living in America, I've been more exposed to it than in other countries.
Just going to different countries and continents, people are saying, oh, your skin is just so pretty.
In other countries, it may be a language-based discrimination or prejudice versus a color-based.
It was always this negative connotation with having a darker skin tone. It was never anything that was revered.
I do have a light-skinned sister, so I guess that was a challenge too.
She had the fair complexion with the beautiful, wavy, long black hair.
I wish I was lighter sometimes.
I know the world's quote-unquote image of beauty growing up was a Caucasian lady, and in the African-American community, a light-skinned lady.
Lighter skin was always considered beauty. And if only I was this way, then maybe there's something beautiful in me.
And I actually never felt that way growing up.
Back then, dark-skinned girls didn't get a lot of play.
I felt like I mirrored what beauty truly was, not because of the color of my skin, but who God had me to be.
My first image of beauty has been my Barbie dolls, because that's what I played with.
I'm a reflection of my mother, my dad, and the culture I was born in.
Black is beautiful to me.
I never looked at the Caucasian woman as the image of beauty, the light-skinned African-American woman as the image of beauty, the brown-skinned African-American woman as the image of beauty, nor the dark-skinned African-American as the image of beauty. I just felt like if you were beautiful, then overall you were beautiful. You know, you often hear of a Caucasian woman boasting about her complexion. You often hear of a light-skinned African-American woman boasting about her complexion. So I feel like, for me, as a dark-skinned woman, I embody the total package of beauty. And that's how I've always felt.
Growing up in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, it was...
You're not like most black people. Very annoying.
I don't understand why she's marrying a white man, all these black men out here.
Oh, you know, she's dark.
Well, honey, you just too dark to wear pink lipstick.
I was attractive or pretty to be dark-skinned.
You're a really pretty girl to be dark-skinned.
You have lovely skin for a dark person.
You're cute for a dark girl. Or I don't like dark-skinned girls. I don't deal with them.
That was like a slap in my face.
Or you look attractive for a person of color. And I would say, oh, that's lovely. Now, what color are you referring to? Because you're also of color or maybe devoid of color.
And so when I would look at my skin, I was like, well, maybe if I wasn't dark-skinned, I'll be pretty.
Well, I didn't know that it really made that big of a difference. I thought cute was cute, but clearly, you know, in some people's minds it wasn't.
All white people aren't the same. All Asian people aren't the same. Nobody's the same.
You show up with a black car. You show up with a black car. Paint the black hole blacker. Paint the black hole blacker.
What do you mean I'm pretty to be dark-skinned? I can't just be pretty to be pretty.
It's either you're pretty or you're not pretty, but don't say I'm pretty to be dark.
You show up with a black car. You show up with a black car. Paint the black hole blacker. Paint the black hole blacker.
You know, every time a young man would tell me that, I would have to stop the conversation and ask him, what does a matter of my complexion have to do with anything? And so he would retract his statement, but by then the damage had already been done.
You show up with a black car. You show up with a black car.
When you love somebody, that's when you care about them and you don't, like, if they get hurt, you'll help them and you won't just let them sit there and be hurt, or you will help them when they fall.
I think it was a product of, you know, my mother's time, then where it was the brown paper bag test era. And, you know, I just remember being a little girl and, you know, my brothers could play all day, run till the cows came home. But, you know, if it was too hot out, too much sun going on, she would say, come on in, you gotta come on in. You know, as a very, very little girl, I'm like, well, I couldn't understand it. She said, well, I don't want you to get too dark. You know, you're dark enough, I don't want you to get too dark. Because then people may not want to play with you. Or the boys may not think you're too cute if you're too dark. You're dark enough, you don't need to add any extra. I didn't know what that meant. I just was wanting to play. Children are mean.
Sometimes
If I was teased or anything like that,
they'll call me a raccoon.
They might say Black A, Tia, or something like that.
growing up, fortunately, I had a very strong support system.
I look to my family and my culture. That's what influences me.
I find beautiful what I find beautiful. I think dark skin is beautiful.
Well, actually, I was always told I was cute.
And my older brother told me I was beautiful every single day.
But I also think a lot of other things are beautiful too.
Because I am comfortable in my skin.
I'm brave and strong.
The problem doesn't stem with me, it stems with them.
For whatever reason, there are many, but for whatever reason, it's almost like if you say you like straight hair, then that automatically means in somebody's mind that you hate an afro.
I'm comfortable in my skin, I know who I am.
Or if you feel more connected to the culture over here, then you've abandoned your roots over here. And I feel like it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
I never had a problem with my complexion.
An overall confident African American woman. I don't put dark skin to it. I do happen to be a dark skin, brown skin woman, if you will. And I would never ever change a thing.
If you're beautiful to me, then you are just beautiful. And nobody on the outside of me has anything to do with that.
So I think that those people have come around and really started to understand that it's not about the complexion of your skin at all.
A person asked a friend of mine, well, don't people just automatically assume you're pretty because you're light? And, you know, I said, oh, okay. I kind of took where that person was going with it. And I'm sure that there's other people like that in the world who still exist. And that strange thought process of if you're brown, you're down. If you're light, you're right. You know, I see it. I hear it, especially amongst young people, which is pretty scary.
When I hear girls, mostly girls, talk about being teased about being dark-skinned or about just being black girls.
When I look at my personality and what I could be given my upbringing, I'm very grateful to God that I am not the person I could have been. You know what I mean?
I think that's all just, unfortunately, has been ingrained in us from generation to generation to generation to generation, going back to, you know, to slavery.
I just feel like with all the stuff you go through in life, you could be like this monster.
What I hate most is I think sometimes people view each other in a box, and if you don't fit that box, people want to degrade you or say negative things about you or, you know, try to tear down your self-esteem.
I hate what people succumb to, what they don't believe they can achieve and do. And they believe the lies of their inner voices that tells them that they will never be anything, or this is life as you know it, and it's not. It's so much more to that.
I hate most when people don't see their true potential, when people don't see the beauty that others see in them. And it saddens me, but it just makes me want to work harder to help them see that.
Hopefully, one smile at a time, one kind word at a time, one hug at a time, even one tear will become stronger and wiser.
Through life experiences, understanding different people, different situations, and things that people go through.
That's something inside of me, my heart, my brain, my mind, my experiences, what shapes me and who God has me to be, is what determines what I find beautiful.
We as a people have to make a conscious effort, you know, to start making some changes so that this nonsense about who's lighter and who's darker and who's in between is no longer a factor.
Being raised in so many different cultures, skin color was never an issue. It was more about the way somebody looked, as to if the features were proportional, if the skin was smooth, regardless what hue.
The media has not really influenced me to tell me what exactly beauty is, because I have a very strong sense of self, and my self-esteem is great. And what I find beautiful is just that, what I find beautiful.
The media has really propelled me to really want to be a part of this documentary.
I know in the media you're airbrushed, you're tucked, and some people that I have the most respect for didn't change their looks.
So what's interesting to me is how the world has portrayed this one-sided kind of beauty. That hasn't influenced my thought process at all.
I can't really say if I can define beauty, and I don't want anyone to define beauty based upon what I see, because what you see might be different from what I see as beauty.
Every dark-skinned woman, brown-skinned woman, is not ashamed of their skin.
Not mine personally, but I can see how they would influence people who had issues with their skin.
Every dark-skinned, brown-skinned woman don't have low self-esteem due to the color of their skin. It's just not true. It's untrue. So if anything, I guess for me, I would get upset at the mere fact that it was portrayed as if there were no brown-skinned or dark-skinned women who were worthy, or who felt worthy, or who had a high level of self-esteem because of what their definition of beauty was.
They can put as many non-dark-skinned people on the cover of magazines as they like, but I grew up in the home of Ebony, Essence, and Jet Honey. And so I've been seeing that black people are beautiful and hot since I can remember.
So, now I have an opportunity to tell my story and to tell the world that dark-skinned women rock.
I love me some black people, and I love me some dark skin, and yeah, that's just it.
In French Canada growing up, it wasn't a teasing more than a curiosity, because sometimes people would come to us and touch our skin to find out if the color came off. And as we got older and more exposed to American television, then it became very chic for the French Canadians to have a friend of color. So everybody was fighting to have you as their friend, which was very interesting. The only confusion I had, especially since coming to America, was what was considered white and what was considered black. Because certain celebrities that maybe we saw on TV in Canada, we thought they were white, only to come to America and find out that America's considered them black.
It has an impact if I allow it to, in a negative way or in a positive way.
Well, in this society, just being African American, period, no matter what shade you are, there's the impact right there.
It does, in a way that some people are just mesmerized by dark chocolate, so it opens doors for me.
I'm just mesmerized by their beauty. They're just that beautiful to me.
If you were blessed to be that Ashanti pride, that dark and chocolate and smooth, then the world was at your feet.
I think if I would have known skin bleaching was out back then, I would have did it.
Just to merely get lighter, that's a problem.
Skin bleaching, I think, is confusing.
It can be very dangerous.
I don't see a point.
I know the skin bleaching causes cancer.
If there's some type of medical condition, that's a different story.
Well, when I was a teenager, I used to even out my blotches from acne.
There was a point in time when I had to use a form of skin bleaching, but it was because of skin acne.
Some of that was like a bleaching cream.
But just to lighten your skin, just to become lighter for who?
I have pictures where my face is like light.
If that makes you feel better about yourself, then that's something you have to deal with within your own spirit. But for me, it's not for me.
You're so beautiful. If you don't throw that stuff in the trash, like what in the world?
But let me say this. As it started to make me lighter, I love microdermabrasions, chemical, all of those things. They're wonderful for a woman. They are. But as it started to make me lighter, I almost didn't identify myself.
Because I find dark skin so beautiful, it's almost like someone defacing the Mona Lisa.
I want to go back to the authentic Tia, who Tia really is.
But I stopped using that years ago.
In Ghana, most of the women that skin bleach are of a certain social economic class, and I'm not talking about the higher class.
My thoughts on myself was not always healthy.
Please know that your skin is beautiful.
Something along the way was misunderstood or misrepresented, but usually well-educated women of high families would not bleach.
That's not the right concept. That's not what you should be doing.
Why would you want to erase your God-given beauty? God-given, like bleaching cream is for blemishes, not God-given images like our skin.
First of all, God made you who you are. And you don't have to look to the TV screens or the models to think that's who you should be.
Not now. I'm very confident in my beauty. I know who I am.
There is no product in the jar that could ever make you more beautiful.
And I think that that's something that whomever is engaging in that, that's something that they have to look within themselves to figure out, why am I really doing this?
We are beautiful. Are you kidding me?
We know the surface. I just want to be lighter. But digging a little bit deeper and getting down to the root cause of, why do I feel that I'm not good enough? Why do I feel that the skin that I'm in is not good enough?
Circumstances, situations of my upbringing played in with that. And then the comments that I would receive when I was younger as well. So when I looked at the reflection of myself in the mirror, I always thought that it wasn't good enough.
Why does light have to be right?
You see with your heart, as well we all should. And that's what makes the ultimate difference.
Why can't, the caramel or the mocha or the deep chocolate, why is that not acceptable? And who told me that and why?
What you need to do is focus on being an amazing human being. Because that changes everything.
Just love yourself. You're here for a reason, you're special.
And you need to wear a shirt that's skin bleaching with a circle around it and a slash. Don't need it, because we're good.
It really brings about some concern.
Like, when will this stop?
My self-esteem is strong and permanent.
If we had to walk around blindfolded and meet someone strictly off of their personality, what a difference that would make.
I know it's so many young girls who are suffering across the world because of their skin complexion.
Sad. It's very disappointed and sad. I don't like it. Everybody should be treated the same, but no one's different.
Just be your best self, because complexion won't matter.
It doesn't matter, what anyone says. You are beautiful, and you better know it every single day of your life.
We have so many holdbacks and setbacks because of our complexion. In the world that we're in, as being dark-skinned.
If nobody ever told you you were beautiful, amazing, breathtaking, awe-striking, fly, fierce, fabulous, dope, cool, hot, whatever adjective you need to hear.
It always started from within, to me, from a young age.
If no one ever told you those adjectives, I apologize on their behalf, but you are beautiful.
Please hear me when I tell you, I'm screaming this to the world.
It's kind of a thing of, this is the way I came out. This is me. And if I were my mom's complexion, would I still look the same if I wasn't my dad's complexion?
It doesn't matter. Just be your best self.
I just never really thought about it. I'm just me.
She was very dark complexion as well. I would say a little darker than I was. And this man taking her hand and saying, "You're the true black woman. The palm of your hand is even black."
And he did call me the Nubian princess.
When he said that, I was like, well, somebody out here accepts black women for the color of our skin.
Racism is extremely prevalent regardless of where you are. But the sad thing about it is that it can be so much more prevalent in certain areas as opposed to others.
For example, I had someone ask me, well, how did you get this job? Who did you know? How did you get here? And that was basically the tone of it. Not that I just couldn't be educated and qualified to be able to have the job that I was appointed to.
In this world, you tire of a lot of things. You tire of a lot of things. But the one thing I never hear anyone ever say, I never hear anybody say, I'm so tired of being respected. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
Just for our stance as African Americans of where we are in the world today, I guess not taking the civil rights movement as serious as it should be taken is a problem for me.
Well, I think our value system changed. That's just my personal opinion. I think the value of family, respecting other people, respecting adults, respecting each other.
Being more integrated, some of the, how do I call it, the family structure has changed. In the African American family or, African family, our respect for the elders is paramount. In other cultures, elders are considered your friends or your equals, and children speak to them in a way we would say, just in a very indifferent way. This generation has started to adopt the pattern of speaking to our elders in a very indifferent way.
The reason that we're able to do what we do is because of that.
I think during that time we had no choice but to band together, because if we didn't, who else did we have? And right now I think that in our society that everything is acceptable. So no one's held accountable.
The mere fact that we're out here having issues about complexion within our own community and killing one another for no reason.
When I was growing up, my parents worked, and so our neighbors had to look out for us, and we had to respect that. And it wasn't in a negative tone of anyone's trying to be invasive or, it was just, hey, I'm just looking out for you as a community. And now I think we've lost a lot of that due to mental illness, due to drugs, due to crime. We've lost a lot of that sense of community that we used to have.
It's just, wow. It's just like your Martin Luther Kings, your Malcolm X's, your Angela Davis's, your Harriet Tubman's. Like, what did they fight for? What was it all for? It can't be for this.
It hurts me to see 17, 18, 19-year-olds getting life sentences, crushing after so many sacrifices have been made, and their families are hurting, and another little boy, another little girl grows up without their dad. It's just crushing.
My grandmother even was, a part of the civil rights movement and trying to push for change and things like that.
I often say that God gives his hardest trials to his strongest soldiers. And those soldiers are the soldiers who make a mark on the world and who are instrumental in pivotal movements in the world. And I know that I would have been a part of that.
It's definitely in my blood. I definitely would have been on the freedom fighter end.
I just feel like it's only very few of us who take these matters to the heart and know that we have an obligation, to go about our dreams the right way and make them proud.
I'm thankful. I'm grateful and utterly appreciative for those who stood up and took a chance because it was a chance. A lot of them lost their lives, their livelihood, just to fight for the next generation that was coming along. And I know I wouldn't have been able to receive the education that I received if it were not for those who stood up and fought.
We have to start looking outside of our individual 4 blocks. We cannot be 4-block radius here. It's like intergalactic access we have here.
I do believe that every child can learn, no matter who they are, where they come from. Everyone has the ability to learn in whatever form that works for them.
Right now I'm in school, I'm in college. I was scared at first because I'm like, I'm too old to learn. It kind of wakes up my brain, you know, I love it.
Education is essential as breathing. It's so critical. That's what opened doors for my family here in U.S. and in Canada and in Ghana.
If I want to see more intelligence, then I start by educating myself.
From speaking to older African Americans, and Baltimore has some wonderful people that lived during that time. They tell us that even though segregation and they had many hardships, the school system, because it was segregated, the African American school system taught them more about their history and set standards for them that were, for example, if I look at people like Paul Robeson, people know him as an opera singer, but he was a wonderful scholar, spoke many languages. You know, people like Eartha Kitt, who I think she spoke more than half a dozen languages, all came through that system.
I'm so saddened that while growing up in school, we didn't learn more about our African American heritage. You know, the least that we know, the least that we'll achieve. Just to the youth, really to the parents, it's pivotal, it's so imperative that you teach your kids at home about their history.
We talked about it.
Don't rely on the school systems to do it because they won't.
It was conversations that we would have together and just talk about how things were for my parents and my grandparents and things that they experienced, and you know, some things that still hold true to their experiences now and how they perceive the world around them.
We need to start teaching our kids and breeding them with their history so that they know and so that they can be proud.
We just went and saw the Butler as a family, from the oldest at 70 plus to the youngest at 12 and everybody else in between. And you know, I set it up. I thought it would be a great experience for all of us to see, especially for the younger family members, to be able to kind of not just hear the stories, but actually see it on the screen, and it not always be about the historical figures that they always read about every day, but to get a different view.
And so that they can see that our history is made up of light-skinned African Americans, dark-skinned African Americans. It didn't matter what complexion they were. They all, come on, they all came together. They all formed one union. It didn't matter. The Black Panthers, it didn't matter what your complexion was. Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. So it's pivotal that we understand our true history, because that is where our worth comes from. That's where it stems from. So the reason why we have a war on drugs, low self-esteem, our young girls questioning their complexion, dark-skinned girls like we're less than, it's because they don't know the essence of their history. They don't know, and that's a problem. That's a problem, and it's going to take a village. Not just me, it takes an entire village. You know, we should know these things by now, but unfortunately, everything has reverted backwards, and it's unacceptable.
I see a confident woman.
Confident.
When I look in the mirror, I see a whole lineage of very strong women.
I see a strong woman.
The older I get, the better I get.
Women who went against the odds.
I see a persevere. I see a go-getter.
I've encountered many challenges in life, and been able to rise above, not because I'm stronger than anybody, but because I had the privilege of seeing strong men and women in my family just do exceptional things.
They stood up for what they believed in.
And I expect that from myself.
Because the things I've experienced through life has caused me to grow and understand me, life, and things around me.
It was never, hold your head low or believe the hype that anyone tried to tell you about yourself.
I see something beautiful than just the color.
So if anyone ever wanted to feel poorly about themselves, there was always someone to tap you on your shoulder and say, no, you don't believe that.
That comes from coming from a family where, for example, one set of cousins, there are 5 boys and 1 girl, and 4 of them are medical doctors.
My parents' view of education, it was without a question, we had to go to school. We had to go to college.
So we have this in my family. Most of my uncles are medical doctors, and most of my aunts are either nurses or lawyers. So when you go to family reunions and you want to make a suggestion and raise your hand, they always ask you, what are your credentials? If you don't have at least a master's, put your hand down.
Every child should take advantage of every opportunity that's presented in front of them.
Not to be mean or rude, but to say we expect more of you.
You're smart, you're intelligent, you persevere. So that's what I see.
What makes me happy is consistency in friendships, consistency in life, and me also being consistent to the people I love.
I honor the legacy that they left to us in my daily living.
To honor that is by sharing with young women the value of who they are.
I honor the legacy by trying to be the best that I can be, taking advantage of the education, because a lot of the civil rights was to allow us to have equal education, not equal and separate.
Just overall courage.
I'm really impressed by the courage that they displayed.
What they displayed to the world was loyalty.
I'm very loyal. I'm loyal to a fault, yes.
Was honesty.
Honest, trustworthy.
Not even necessarily the world, to their communities, to the African American community. Everything was courageous that they did.
The legacy of the civil rights movement lives on today, not only in America, but also in different countries, like in, for example, the Congo, or in different countries where different ethnic groups are fighting for their rights, or the people that survived, and I say survived, the civil wars in Liberia and Sierra Leone. They took inspiration from Dr. King and Mahoghany.
Because they had water fountains that only for whites, and then they had another one that was for black people, but that water was dirty.
In the face of injustice, to be told to calm down. In the face of injustice, to be told not to be angry, not to be sad, not to feel passionate about it, is to say be a robot, or to be disconnected, or to not care. And I think we have enough people that are disconnected and don't care anymore. And look at the state that we're in due to not caring and just being disconnected.
Emotional topic.
Injustice is something very difficult for me to take.
Injustice is a dirty word for me. It's a painful word.
Feels like your hands are tied.
Injustice, unfortunately, is a reality.
I find it otherworldly.
We were just done injustices all across the board from slavery.
This virus called injustice,
It wounded and destroys people's hearts, people's souls, people's ambitions.
you can treat it but you can't cure it.
It's something that's out of our control sometimes.
What we consider as someone being used as a doormat, just being trashed on, period. I think they experienced all that.
I believe in God and Jesus and everything that's bigger than me, because if I just had to accept what's around me, I don't think I would have made it.
Stripped from your normalcy, stripped from your family, stripped from your freedom, you're stripped from your pride, and you're stripped from your dignity, and you're stripped from humanity, and you don't have anything to say about it, and you're dehumanized.
My distaste for that would make me say something to the wrong person and I would not be around.
And they still maintain a humbled character, even in their silence.
Whether they were beat, tormented, taunted, it didn't matter because they had a cause.
I'm only here and at this phase in my life because of the sacrifices my elder siblings. And people might be surprised to hear that and say, well, not your parents. No, my parents did what they had to do above and beyond, but my elder siblings, especially my elder sister and my brothers, were the ones that made the tangible sacrifices so that we younger ones could get ahead.
And they followed that to the end.
Wow, the pluses was definitely African Americans was so unified back then.
It wasn't race on race killing.
It was the unity, the family. It was just everything.
We weren't killing one another.
Now it's like every man for themselves.
There was no war on drugs.
You're just another black woman. I'm just another black woman. You're just another black man. You gotta fend for yourself.
I mean, if you want to equate, what we have endured within, I guess, our era as opposed to that era, you might say that the brutality or the racism was equivalent to what we're enduring now as far as the war on drugs, the racial killings. It doesn't equate. It just doesn't equate. It just doesn't equate.
We have the blueprint.
Because at the end of the day, we all have a choice and decision to make.
They gave us the blueprint on how to be courageous.
There's no excuse for anything. You could do anything that you put your mind to.
And how to still be kind despite others who are not so great to us.
As was displayed in our history, our historical leaders.
But just overall on a human level, this is what they showed, and this is the strength that they displayed.
They displayed us. They showed us that they walked the walk.
Uncompromisingly strong.
They succeeded in the walk.
It makes me so proud.
Now, whether they were killed with the walk, the bottom line is that they followed the calling on their lives.
I think that's why I hear that rocky music in my head. Like, I just feel like because of the courage they displayed, oh, I'm on it. My responsibility, I have it in my sights at all times to get up and get up and get up over and over again, and to square my shoulders off and say, yes, I can, and yes, I will be amazing, and I will not let your sacrifice go unnoticed or go in vain.
Anyone could be done an injustice.
And that's my idea of giving back and paying it forward and being the best of who I am.
But when we start to talk about doing an injustice to one another, it's nothing more inhumane than that. Nothing more.
That's it. Yeah.
So back then, the pluses, I would say, would be the reason as to why we're here. Being able to do what we do and fulfill all of our dreams and walk into a restaurant and be seated in the front of the restaurant. Get on any bus and be seated anywhere that we please. And if we are done in injustice, being able to have the political backing to be able to address those matters. So they did all of those things so that we could come to these points, so that we could grace things that they weren't able to grace.
Understand that that's the blood that we have running through our veins.
They work hard for the way that we live now.
I combat injustice by being the change that I want to see in this world.
So for us to not hold that dear and to disrespect it, I feel like it's a defeat in a sense. It's no greater defeat for them.
If I want to see more kindness, then I start by being kind. I'm still taking one step at a time to get there, but I'm going to get there.
Small acts can mean big things.
Even though we have our idea of the world and what esteem is, we've been reinforced with negatives and positives. That's the way this world works. You know, if you see a certain level of brutality, you know, you're always on the lookout because you've seen enough of it to know the feeling that comes over you when it's about to happen. If you've seen a certain level of inspiration and triumphant moments, you know the feeling of the tears welling in your eyes for something very powerful, beautiful, and triumphant. So I always try to jump the gun and share with them something beautiful and triumphant because we want to be revered. We want to be respected. We want to be honored. We want to be loved. We want to be shown affection. We want to be treated kindly. Those things are the essence of God. You know, we're reward oriented. We just are.
Standing up for change, if at all possible. It doesn't mean every day you have to go out and march about something. Sometimes just making small changes, small steps within your own group can start a revolution.
Someone who stands up for me. When you save people, because they stand up for people when they get bullied.
My definition of a hero
Is someone who is very selfless.
A hero is
Somebody who sacrificed and gave of themselves,
My definition of a hero would have to be my mother.
like my mother.
Definition of a hero would have to be my grandmother.
They think of themselves dead last to care for someone else.
someone who's coming to make the situation better.
Or save the world.
A hero can be someone who saves a child.
Little 3-year-olds called 911 for a family member in trouble. Little 3-year-old's a hero.
A hero can be someone who's offering food to someone on the street.
And the best heroes ever are the ones who don't even know they're heroes. You know, there was a guy who jumped down in the subway station on the tracks to lay his body over someone else that fell over. How selfless. That automatically makes a hero so beautiful, so necessary.
A hero can be someone helping the elderly carry their bags out of the grocery store.
most of my heroes you'll never read about in the textbook.
It can be great or small.
But then there are small acts of kindness that are also heroic.
It doesn't have to be this grand occasion where you're defined a hero because everyone sees. A hero can be someone secretly doing things and no one ever knows.
Heroes just save the day, and we can never have enough of them. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass, Rosa Parks. We'll be here all night long about how one person can make a difference. One person that has made a tremendous difference. One teacher. I have memories of my teachers, and they've all made a difference. My pre-K teacher, her name was Mrs. Bernard. Pre-K, we remember you. Teachers that think nobody notices, that nobody cares, that nobody's listening, nobody's learning. No, we hear you. We do. And we appreciate you for showing up every day. We know it's not an easy job at all. You're underpaid. I think that you should get the sportsman salary.
My first image of beauty was my mother.
My mother, she is everything.
My mom was the ultimate diva.
I always tell people I could live a billion lifetimes, I'll never be the woman that she is, and I think I'm pretty cool.
As a little girl, I would watch my mother put her shoes on, and she always had pretty clothing, and she always dressed us well.
She's kind, and she's sweet, and she's smart, and she's sensitive, and she's spiritual, and she's loving, and she's God-fearing.
She was always very particular about her appearance.
She just is so warm.
I learned beauty, I learned makeup, I learned hair, I learned fashion. I learned all of those things from my mother.
So even-keeled and so reasonable, so supportive. I could go on and on, we'll be here all night, but my mother is everything that I would work the rest of my life to become like, for sure.
I am a daddy's girl 100%.
I am the epitome of a daddy's girl.
I guess you could say that I am a mommy's girl.
A daddy's girl.
A mommy's girl.
You look it up in the dictionary, you Google it, this face right here.
Mama's girl.
It's not enough that I can say about my mother.
She was very encouraging to me.
I'm a daddy's girl, always have been, always will be.
My mother was very strong. She was a very strong woman.
My dad is just my guy.
My best friend, my confidant, especially in the time of need.
I love him so much.
He's my #1 fan.
The way she raised us.
She's just the most awesome mother and the most awesome lady that I know.
I think that comes from him being so amazing to me.
I think there's a different connection that girls have with their fathers.
I guess children, they see you with their heart.
As I got older and had my children, she was, take care of yourself, take care of your kids.
My mother said that she lived to raise me.
And we bonded.
Very classy, very distinguished.
Highly educated, drop-dead handsome.
My father is very dark complected. He's always been beautiful to me.
She just gave me some valuable information that stuck with me.
Whenever he came home from work, I know he had to be exhausted, but he never made it seem like it was a chore.
She embodies everything that I have aspired to be and that I have become.
I think that's the thing I love the most, that he reserved energy that he probably didn't even have to reserve, just to make me feel special.
I never once saw my mother sad. I never once heard her say, I can't do this. I don't have enough money to do this. I don't know how I'm making it to the next day. And when you're raised in a single family home, you very seldom hear that. It's not that mothers don't live to raise us, but it's such a struggle, that they can't even find the words to say that.
We had our own day. When I was a little girl, we had Father-Daughter Day. And it was one day a week that I could choose to do anything that I wanted to do. And he did it with me. And it wasn't like he ever brought my uncles along or his friends along so that he could have his own individual fun. It was all about me that day. I felt like, wow, this man loves me so much, and I love him right back for that.
I remember one time she would give me this book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I was younger back then, doing my own little thing. And I was like, Mom, what is this? But as I began to read it, it was very encouraging.
She was pretty equal with us. Having 11, you have to be equal.
To tell me that I was beautiful and, all the things that girls look for their daddies, I did not have to go without.
My father has always been there for me and my siblings 100% from day one.
Watching my mom, everything from finances to education, that is the reason why I am who I am.
And making sure I get my education.
Oh, that little woman had us in check.
He never asked for anything in return. He just gave everything of himself to us.
I can't even describe to anyone how much I love him.
Endured every circumstance possible and have still come out the victor.
And I'm very appreciative for that.
I love my dad.
Friendship is essential, and that's also family, because with family, you only learn to love them when you become friends.
I am a loyal friend who always have room for improvement.
My friends know that I'm very honest, and sometimes they don't like that.
I grew up a lot with not having a lot of friends. Communication was not always my best skill. I was, very sheltered and secluded when I was younger. Just with myself, should I say.
I'm always the person who brings people together.
I think that has a big factor, just being able to communicate with my friends on an ongoing basis.
If you are my friend, you are my friend to the end.
My friends, my sisters, my friends are my sisters.
And I think my friends really value that in me.
We're all family.
What comes to my mind,
Unity, love.
The movie Soul Food, out of all the craziness they had going on, they still was united. So
I haven't attended many family reunions.
ooh, I can't remember. I think it was about 2 years ago, but I didn't attend.
I had kind of gotten away from that, I'm sad to say.
I really don't feel the connection with my family. I don't know, because of my upbringing, what I've experienced, if that's what has drove me away. Though forgiveness, I believe, has taken place in my heart.
Family reunion, fun times. I come from a family, we like to party. When the music comes on, we are ready to party.
But when we had them, I remember them being very fun.
It's just an overall great time. It's just an overall soulful, great experience to be able to have.
I have a very, very close-knit family.
To even be able to have family reunions shows everyone's dedication to one another.
So, when we all can just get together and just enjoy each other, those are the times that we really, really have the most fun.
We've been having family reunions since I was a little one.
We can look back on those times and laugh and just enjoy each other.
I hope to get back into the groove of the family reunions. We're supposed to have one this year, and I'm going. I don't care if 3 people show up. I'm going, and I'm going to get to know those 3 people and hopefully expand. And, family is great. It helps you feel more connected, and I love feeling, plugged into the goodness. So I'll definitely be at my next family reunion.
Because family is everything.
in our language in Ghana, we call it aware. It's a long journey. And I never understood that until I married. And it's a long journey.
I know I said my family, but I really want to say my husband. He's been incredible.
I think marriage is a beautiful thing.
I think marriage is the most important union that you could have with another human being.
My parents are married, have been married since before my brother and I were born. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
My first example of marriage was my parents. They met at 14, got married at 18. When my mother passed away, they had been married for 42 years. So I have a lot of longevity as far as marriage is concerned within my family, my parents and aunts and uncles, and people just stayed together.
I think, though, that it shouldn't be entered into lightly.
I think now sometimes people don't take marriage as seriously, which is kind of difficult for me because I'm used to, no matter what, as long as as long as it's healthy, you work it out.
In order to be successful, God has to be in the very front of it, the sides of it, the back of it, the underneath, the over top.
Jesus. Well, Jesus. The key is somebody has to be the bigger person. Somebody has to say, okay, let's stop. We're not going to argue about this or whatever. Let's compromise. Let's talk it out, walk it out. You got to do all of that stuff to make it work.
Because His word doesn't change. As human beings, our feelings shift moment to moment for some of us, and His word doesn't. So if His word is anchoring your marriage, there's no reason that you can't be wonderfully successful.
I hope and pray that I will be married one day.
I'll have to see about the whole marriage thing.
And an excellent role model to our children.
I like to have the, husband and 2.5 kids and the white picket fence and, all of those things.
I actually thought that I would have, be married by now and have children by now, but
Hopefully one day soon it'll happen.
sometimes you feel like you're the only I'm talking to the world right now. I'm talking to my sisters who felt the same way that I felt. I'm a great woman. I have a lot, everything to offer. What's wrong with me? But then you start to understand your true God-given ordained purpose and that He's preparing the one for you because you are just that authentic.
And has demonstrated on an ongoing basis what love, loyalty, and character is.
I know that everything is in God's time, and I'm just trying to respect that and follow that.
When I was a child, I had fantastic dreams. I knew exactly what my child would look like in my mind.
Once again, complexion does not matter to me.
I would say as long as the baby's healthy, I could care less.
But I will say that I would love to look across and see my little chocolate girl or boy.
In Ghana, we have some women that are called Ashanti Pride. They are black and smooth and just perfect.
In my family, we cover the whole span. So if the child came out with blue eyes like my grandmother, then okay, whatever. But I will say that my dad's genes are really strong. We all came out little chocolate babies. So I don't know if that means anything on my end.
To look across and see one of my children look just like me, nothing more authentic to me. Nothing more beautiful to me. However, my child is my child.
I toyed with always wanting to have a dark-skinned baby and perhaps having a mixed baby.
I knew my son would look like one of these women, not because I was Ashanti Pride, but because that is what I thought was the most beautiful a child can look like. The biggest challenges of parenting is lack of the extended family.
Just having the discipline of, reading the word to them, praying with them every night. I never had that every night.
I don't think I fully understood or appreciated the role of the extended family in our culture.
Making sure that they understand the priority of having a relationship with the Lord and teaching them about finances.
But when you have a child in the West, Nobody assumes that maybe you may be ill, you may not be ill.
I never was taught about finances. I mean, I wrote plenty of checks. They bounced plenty of times. I don't know what I was thinking, that money was going to appear in there. So just teaching them the importance of, saving and building wealth,
You may be able to care for the child, you may not be.
So teaching someone something that you haven't known, that you don't know yourself, is such a big challenge.
And here you're doing it by yourself.
Let me teach myself first before I can teach you, but we're learning it together.
I would say my eyes, because I think they tell a whole lot about me. The good, the challenges, the struggles, you can see it all if you're keen and looking closely.
My favorite physical feature would probably be my ears. That's where I hear the voice of my child, that's where I hear praises, and that's where I hear beautiful songs.
But growing up, being grown, I was always known for my hourglass body. And what does that lead to? My rear end.
Someone dark-skinned that I found beautiful.
I would say
Morse Chestnut.
my soror Cheryl Lee Ralph. She is fierce.
Derek Luke.
Gabriel Union.
Idris Elba. He's beyond beautiful. Gorgeous.
Calvin Lockhart. He is the most beautiful man. I loved his skin. I loved his swagger. I loved his voice. So beautiful. Calvin Lockhart. If I was back in Calvin Lockhart's time, Calvin Lockhart would have been my husband.
Oprah.
Oprah.
She's just the epitome of grace, taking, everything that she had and just breaking every wall and chain down.
Viola Davis.
Love Viola Davis.
Wesley Snipes.
The beautiful young lady that was in 12 Years a Slave. Sidney Poitier. I thought Kimberly Reese, I think Charnel Brown is her name, but her character's name is Kimberly Reese. And I thought that Kimberly Reese had the most beautiful skin. And one time I went to Mexico with a friend, and I was determined I'm gonna lay out in this Mexican sun until I look just like Kimberly Reese. And I almost got a heat stroke, but I wanted to look just like Kimberly Reese. And when I got back home, I was like, guys, don't I look just like Kimberly Reese? They're like, Mahoghany, you will never be Kimberly Reese's complexion. And I was like, do you know how hard I worked for this complexion? You almost got a heat stroke. You tell me I look like Kimberly Reese. I just got it going on. That's all I have to say about that.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good one.
You know what? That's a great question.
Wow, that's a good one.
It's when I realized that I have a friend in Jesus.
Spirituality is number one in my book, because without that I wouldn't be here.
I was introduced to the Lord. I was just so gone at such a young age. I would say maybe from like 13, just doing a lot of different things to escape pain.
I would say when I decided to go full-fledged into my career as an actress, it changed my life because of the sacrifices that I had to make in order to do it, and the flack that I took off people for giving up the salary that I once had to take a chance.
I'm an overall artist from the gut, from the soul.
but I am a risk taker.
I just eat, sleep, and breathe it.
And I'll bet on me every single solitary day of the week.
I'm a floral artist.
One of my most proud accomplishments was when I decided to put on my very first stage play.
I could honestly go against the grain.
I had no budget at all.
Getting my GED.
And live outside of the box.
I was holding auditions before I had a script of any kind, not a word on paper.
Getting married.
I don't know what a box is.
It was just something very magical about how all of it came together.
Having children.
Getting my master's degree from Johns Hopkins University.
And everyone who had anything to do with that moment coming to fruition, I love you forever.
That means everything to me.
Stepping out and doing my business.
With a 4.1 grade point average was a proud moment for me, for my family.
You are part of my dream, and it will forever go down in history that way.
It's just amazing to me.
And, just breaking down another barrier. Basically, like, we got this.
When we came from Ghana, it was in December in the 60s, and we had to walk off the plane in our shorts and sandals, and I had a summer frock on, and we touched snow for the first time. And it burnt us. We didn't realize we were probably getting frostbite because it felt like our fingers were burning. And one of my brothers looked at me and he said, "You know what? This is not Ghana. This is a different country, but it's going to be a great adventure." And I held on to that.
Love pulls on my heartstrings.
Poverty.
Just being able to give women shelter.
And when I see parents who are unable to provide for their children,
The little ones, the kids.
because being a mother late in life, I realize that everybody loves their child.
Whether it's the love you have for your family.
I don't love my child more than somebody who is in a drought-stricken area or a war-torn area.
The love that you have for your spouse, the love that you have for children,
Everybody loves their children.
just the love that you have for people.
I appreciate those who just show up for me. You inspire me, and you are my heroes. And that's all I gotta say. I'm very happy with who I am, and there's no one else that I'd rather be.
I'm very confident now because I feel like I found my voice and that I don't allow myself to be defined by my situations of upbringing.
So proud of myself. I mean, just truly proud of myself.
I've come to appreciate who I am, whether it's the color of my skin or just my inward being.
And I think that's a strong statement.
With all that God has put in me, I'm going to fight to accomplish what it is that's set out for me to do.
And I'm so glad to look in the mirror and know that I happen to be one of those individuals.
To me, that's successful.
Wow.
I wish everyone that kind of success.
I can look at a bird and the bird can have a broken off feather and someone says that is ugly, but for me I can say that's beautiful because I'm not looking directly at the brokenness of the bird, but I'm looking at the beauty of it totally. So seeing beyond for me is the beauty of it.
When you can look yourself in the mirror,
Just be who I am, just you, always knowing that the sun is shining.
looking square at yourself, saying, you know what? I love you, and there's no one else I'd rather be.
It just makes me happy.
Mwah!
I love me.
And I love my skin.
I love the package.
God's wrapped me in.
Mocha.
Ebony.
And dark chocolate.
I'm decadent.
Magnificent.
You won't find me hiding from the sun.
Out of fear of getting darker, I am not that one.
I don't need your bleaching.
Or your cosmetic surgery routine.
I love my nose.
Like my lips.
I like my backside.
I like my hips.
I like my
And
thighs.
yes, they're juicy.
But my soul's the real beauty.
I love my heart.
Nor cares for others.
My curious mind, how it always decides. discover us.
The new and exciting.
The true
And inviting. I love my
hair,
Afro or straight.
afro or straight.
I love my body.
Whether I lose
Or gain weight.
I am so fly.
I'm so fly. I'm so fly.
I'm so fly.
so fly, yes, the coolest.
Me less than.
Please don't be foolish.
I don't subscribe.
To the lies you tell.
I don't run to the stores for the products you sell.
I don't look in the mirror and hate myself.
Self-love,
And dignity
That's spiritual wealth.
pride, and intellect.
Speaks for itself, meaning
I don't have to say a word.
I don't have to say a word.
Meaning I don't have to say a word.
Except don't believe the hype.
because the hype is absurd.
there is no wrong shade of
There
black.
is no wrong shade of black.
There's no wrong shade of
There is no wrong shade of black.
There is no wrong shade of black.
And anyone who thinks that,
And anyone who thinks
Anyone
that
who's thinking
And
that,
anyone who thinks that,
their thinking is whack.
their thinking is whack.
their thinking is whack.
Their thinking is whack. Because beauty comes in all colors. Beauty comes in every color.
in each and every part of the world. Uplift.
Encourage one another.
Down to every
Little boy and girl
Self-love,
is the key.
Confidence is beauty.
Confident is beauty. How about this is a theory?
skin color blindness.
Hopelessly addicted to
Random acts of kindness. Wouldn't that be so great?
treat one another like human beings.
How wonderful.
But it's never.
Too late.
And we need that change.
But what I'm seeing
the win-win.
It's love.
never felt.
The silver lining is
Hope it does prevail.
Get it? Got it?
Good.
No, I dance to it.